Welcome to Femme Parler Podcast, where we are unpacking opinions and changing destinations. I am your host, Shirley Altador, where each week we will chat about how to rise strong out of all types of obstacles that come with relationships. Through personal life experiences and discussions ranging from infidelity, trust, forgiveness, sex, heartbreak, self-love, and so much more. I am passionate and obsessed to provide guidance to every woman to create a better life. Let's dive in, pull up a seat, make sure you're cozy, and get ready to be challenged and encouraged while you learn. With me, your virtual girlfriend. Welcome back to another episode of Femme Parler Podcast. Today on Storytime, we have a special guest with us today. We have Dr. Supatra Tovar. She is one of the few clinical psychologists in the country who is also a registered dietitian and fitness expert. Dr. Tovar's unique background and integrated specializations allow her to provide holistic mind-body treatment for trauma, eating disorders, depression, anxiety, and so much more. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Wonderful. We're not going to tell anybody the basic lesson I had to take to make sure I pronounced your name right, even though it's not difficult.
Everyone has to take that same lesson, so don't feel bad.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I'm going to pass you the mic to add on to who you are and what you do and all the extras.
Yes, so I am a clinical psychologist as well as registered dietitian and fitness expert. And the reason why I have all of those, accreditations and degrees is because I'm just so fascinated on how we can treat people in a holistic way. Meaning, it's if you're treating for someone for mental health, it's not just what they're thinking or what they're feeling. It's also how they're living, how they're sleeping, how they're functioning in the world. So I really like to look at all of my clients, whether it's an individual, child, couples, or families. I'd like to look at them holistically so I can provide them the most comprehensive treatment. So, in the case of couples, as we're talking about today, I might, really kind of delve into, say they're new parents. How much are they sleeping? What are their, distribution of chores when it comes to their child? All of those things, along with how they communicate with each other, so that I can help treat them in the best way possible.
Wonderful. I love the fact that you can discuss so many different avenues and so many different topics. Now, I wanted to ask you, what made you go in this direction? Being a clinical psychologist, also a registered dietitian and an expert, like at what point, like at 20, you're like, this is what I was going to do? Or how did you end up to where you are now?
It definitely was a three-part process. I started out in fitness and just fell. I'm a Pilates instructor, so I
Okay.
fell in love with Pilates and what it was doing for my body, and also just for me managing stress and anxiety. And then, when you're a Pilates instructor, most of the time you're either doing individual or group sessions. So in my
hmm
individual sessions, I found myself almost as a therapist to my clients. They would come in, they would tell me all their problems, they would ask me how to lose weight. I, have always been very interested in nutrition. And that's when I thought, well, I think I need a little bit more in order to be able to counsel people fully on their health. So then it transitioned into nutrition. There were other reasons why I chose nutrition as well, having seen, very close friends of mine suffering from eating disorders, and not having that problem myself, and really wanting to help people find their healthiest path to diet, nutrition, and fitness. And so then when I got into my nutrition program, I realized, well, I can counsel people on their diet, but there's so many emotional reasons why somebody might, be overeating or not eating enough. that I didn't feel like I had the scope of practice that I needed. So then I went on into studying clinical psychology. And that's when I really knew that I had reached the pinnacle of what I could know in order to treat somebody's entire health
And
while
you
not being
pushed
an MD,
yourself.
because I didn't want to go to be an MD. I don't like fluids, I don't like blood.
Ah,
So this was the path for me.
that's great. You really pushed yourself. You went from fitness to diet to people's brains and minds.
Yeah.
You followed your heart, and because dietitian, isn't
hmm
that long?
It is all of it's long. It's been a really long road, but going to through dietetics program, it's a 3 years master program, and then you have an
Ah,
internship as well off of that. So that was
okay.
a road that I took, and it was very long and completely fulfilling and amazing.
Great.
And then to be a psychologist, it was a 5 year path plus some postdoctoral work as well. So I like
Girl,
to
you're
tell the
busy.
kids that I treat that I went to like the 23rd grade or something like that.
Girl, that's good. That's good. Congratulations. That is
Thank
very
you.
good. You never gave up. I'm
I
assuming, are
didn't.
you going back to school for something else?
Oh gosh, no.
She said, like, I'm done.
No, no,
I'm
no,
done.
no.
I'm good. I have enough
No.
accolades under my belt. I'm good. All right. So, what we're going to start off today with is infidelity. We're going to use me as the example because I have been both victim and a perpetrator.
hmm
And with infidelity, I would like to discuss the difference between men and women. Also, do you feel, I guess here's my first question, because Shirley always has a whole bunch of questions.
hmm
Do you feel men cheat more than women, or women do it secretly? And what is the ultimate cause? I always hear, oh, it's because of something they're missing in their relationship. What is your thought when it comes to infidelity?
Well, I do think that it usually depends on the sex, but I don't tend to like to make mass generalizations about
Mm-hmm.
either sex. And you do hear about men, committing infidelity far more often than women. And the reason for that, I think, is more social conditioning than anything else. I think it's more socially acceptable and has been over time for men to have affairs or to have mistresses or to, you know, have dalliances when they are traveling. That's something that I think has been conditioned into the minds of men as being more acceptable than a woman. But I do think that you're right. I think there's a lot more infidelity than we might know on a female side because we're conditioned not to do that. That is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely completely taboo and something that, will tear apart the family, break up, your marriage, and if you're looking in history, might have sent a woman out into the street and not have, any means to support herself. She would have ended up, maybe even going into prostitution or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, far more acceptable for men, far less acceptable for women, but probably committed maybe even equally on both sides. We just don't really have those numbers.
Do you think many times it's because, especially as women, and I had spoke about this on season 1, where women have so much restrictions on what they're going to do sexually to their spouse?
Mm.
And I'll give you an example of what I mean by that. So I'm a fan of Investigation Discovery. I was
Mhm.
watching that. The serial killer actually said one of the reasons why he chose to sleep with prostitutes is because they would perform fellatio on him that his wife would not do.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
felt that to be very interesting. And I do believe at times some women are like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, did you guys discuss this before you got into a serious relationship? How are you just going to tell
Mm.
your partner that you're not doing that? And of course, I don't come from a clinical background like you do. But
Mhm.
is it right to put a restriction sexually like that for your partner?
Well, I actually think for most people, because sex is such a taboo topic, that most couples don't talk about this. They just end up together sexually. And then they kind of go with what they have, and they don't tend to talk about what they need or what they want or what they prefer. And because it's just such a, a touchy topic, especially if you're not getting what you want and you need,
Mm-hmm.
and depending on the sex too, of the person, you may never ever express that to your partner. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen it on both sides. I've seen
Okay.
women who will not, express to their partner what they want. Maybe they want their partner to go down on them. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
they want something, a little spicier, a little bit more exciting, other than the missionary position. And it
Mm-hmm.
could go both ways. The man could feel that way too. But I think it really depends on how well the couple communicates. And if the communication's not there, that's when you tend to see people reaching outside of their marriage to satisfy their needs, whether it's with prostitutes or through pornography watching, masturbation, whatever it might be. I think it's really comes down to being a communication issue.
Absolutely. Because for me, when I committed infidelity, it wasn't, I didn't feel needed. The person
Hmm.
I had the affair with gave me that need that I was missing in my relationship. There
Right.
was a gap in communication
Hmm.
and the attention that I was missing in my home, instead of
Hmm.
me being a little more mature, trying to work on it, talk it out, and walk away, which is the
Hmm.
responsible thing to do. No,
Hmm.
you know what? You're taking the negative focus that's going on in my home away. So, you know what? I'm just going to deal with you right now. And whatever comes
Hmm.
after, I'll deal with after.
Hmm.
And speaking for myself, that was the reason why I got caught up in the situation that I got caught up in.
Hmm.
And at that moment, that's when I realized, oh, I guess you never say never, because I would have never in my life thought I would be in that situation. I just
Hmm.
thought I was above all that. But
Right.
above all what though?
Hmm.
Because infidelity doesn't have a label or anything like that. So what was I above? Nothing. Because I'm
Exactly.
human and I'm prone to error.
Hmm. And I think when you do that, you create a bit of what's called cognitive dissonance in yourself. Like you
Mm-hmm.
said, you never would have thought that you did that. You would do that. You
Mm-hmm.
had no idea, growing up that that was something that you would turn to. And when you did, there's a lot of guilty feelings that come with doing that. So you tend to justify your actions. Oh, well, I'm not getting what I need over here. So this is just me getting what I need, even though you know what you're doing is wrong because it's breaking the other person's trust, whether they find out or not.
Mm-hmm.
You're breaking the trust that's been built in your relationship, and that guilt can stay with you throughout the infidelity. If you don't mind me asking, did your partner ever find out? Did What
Oh, we
happened?
know. Oh,
Mhm.
everyone knows. It's
Mhm.
on season 1 of the podcast. Friends and
Mhm.
family know there's no secret, but it took
Mhm.
healing
Mhm.
for me to get to where I am. It took a
Mhm.
lot of healing for me to confidently be able to talk about it. And when I say confidently, I'm not promoting infidelity. I'm just saying there was
Mhm.
a time where I couldn't speak about it. If anybody
Mhm.
asked me, it was a trigger. I didn't want to say anything. I was embarrassed.
Right.
And then I ended up being the victim. I went from perpetrator to the victim,
Mm.
and I also believe our relationship, because we started so young, 15, 16, we're now
Mm.
38 and 39,
Mhm.
stupid when it came to how to function in a relationship. I look
Mm.
at my 14-year-old now and I'm like, a year from now, I met her father when I was her age. Dumb. Literally.
Mm.
That's the best description I can give. You don't know
Mhm.
anything about a relationship. So
No.
we started off so young, making poor decisions. Now, with
Mhm.
his infidelity, it got so far that a child was created.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's a whole different level of pain and hurt you have to deal with.
Uh-huh.
Now, again, as I always say on the podcast, every relationship is different. So please don't compare your situation to my situation, because what worked for us may not work for you. We're
Right.
still together. Is
Mhm.
it easy every day? No, it's not easy
Mhm.
every day, but we make the conscious effort to
Mhm.
do what we need to do for the benefit of our relationship and also for the benefit of ourselves. Because
Mhm.
many times we had to ask ourselves, is this something we can stay in? Is this something we can truly handle? And when I
Mm-hmm.
say handle, infidelity hurts.
Yes.
It's like someone taking a knife to your skin and just back and forth cutting.
Slicing. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. That's the pain and they're not lifting the knife up at any point in
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a back and forth pain until
Mm-hmm.
you're numb,
Yes.
So when the child was created, for the longest time, it was just like, and let me tell you too, I used to always say to him, and I feel as though there's a lot of portions to the story, but I'm going to say the smaller portion. I used to say, the minute you get a girl pregnant, I'm leaving.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, I had to ask God, did I manifest this?
Mm.
Why am I in this situation? And for the longest time, I was so upset at him. And I was like, I don't understand why I'm getting punished. Maybe I manifested this because I kept saying this over and over and over and over and over again. And I brought it to fruition.
Well, that's a really good question. So, have you answered that for yourself? Why did you say that over and over?
You know what? I don't have a true answer, but if I have to comment on what you're asking me,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was me trying to show some type of stupid dominance in the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
If that like me saying, yeah, you got me now, but you go out and do this, you do this, I'm gone.
Mm-hmm.
But my ass didn't leave right away.
Mm-hmm.
We did ended up separating for a brief period of time, but I did not leave right away.
Well,
I
do you
don't
think
know.
it might have been even, a fear of yours that you were trying to warn him against by saying, here you have me and you better stay with me and appreciate me. And if you were to do anything, that's the moment you lose me. I think that that sounds in some ways more like, an ultimatum or just, your demand of the relationship. And I think that usually that comes from a fear of losing the relationship. So
Mm.
when you got together with him, I mean, you guys were together from very young age.
Hmm.
What was it that, just made you fall head over heels for him?
Interesting you said that the way you said it, because I've never thought about it as a fear.
Hmm.
But the fear of losing him makes a lot of sense. So when our relationship first started, out of the 23 years, the first few years, we were just like friends with benefits.
Mm.
It wasn't necessarily a serious relationship. Just, hey, what you doing? Come on over.
Mhm.
Boop, boop, boop.
Mhm.
So it wasn't you know how when you get older, they say you don't always date who you need, you date who you want. I think in the
Mm.
beginning it was
Mhm.
more of a physical attraction,
Mhm.
and Shirley didn't really know what she needed.
Right.
I just knew what I wanted at the time.
Mhm.
And physically it looked attracted, and that's
Mhm.
all I knew.
Mhm.
At 15, 16, I lost my virginity at 15. I didn't know what the hell a boundary was.
Mhm.
Ask me then, I'm like, what, a boundary? Like, okay, I don't know. I wouldn't even know what to tell you at 15. A boundary? What are you
I
talking
don't think
about?
any kid would know.
So, when I look back, I think it was just teenage love at first.
Mm.
And maybe that combined together, me actually thinking about it now, maybe that's why I was saying it.
Mhm.
But I really truly don't have an answer of why I kept repeating this to this man and
Mhm.
saying that. One thing I definitely knew, if I didn't know anything, I knew I didn't want a man with children
Mm.
because I didn't want to deal with any baby mama drama
Mhm.
that I possibly had to, deal with at my little young, tender age. So I
Mhm.
wanted a man that was child free.
Mhm.
I was, 15, 16, 17, 18 looking.
Mhm.
And, even though we were friends with benefits, we still dated, but that was one rule that I had. I
Mm.
didn't want any man that had children because I
Mhm.
didn't want to deal with any other woman that was in the picture. And I wanted to be the significant one. I wanted to be the one that you dedicated 200% of your time with. So I guess that's the only thing I knew at that young age, that
Right.
I didn't want to be anybody's little coleslaw.
I
I
like how
wanted
you
you to
put that.
focus primarily on me.
Yes. Which I think
That's all I
makes
knew.
sense. You're saying if you are out with anybody, if you have a child with anybody, I'm gone. Because what you wanted was full 100% attention and love
Mhm.
from that person. You did not want to share that person with anyone.
Yeah. So, I mean, infidelity is tough.
It is really
It's
tough.
tough. It's tough.
The
Do you
surviving
believe?
infidelity, I think, is the real tough part because I think, the societal expectation is you cheat on me, that's it, the relationship's over. And a lot of couples don't do that. A lot of couples actually stay together. And the staying together after infidelity is what's really, really hard because the trust will never, ever be the same.
Mhm.
It's just different. And how you overcome that, how you come back together and learn how to love each other fully, that's what determines the success of the relationship. So, it- when you both discovered this with each other, how did you come back together? How did you decide to overcome this problem?
Healing has taken a long time.
Hmm.
It's been years. Now,
Hmm.
when I ask him about how he feels about my cheating, it's truly a conversation he's not even till this day really truly comfortable having.
Hmm.
What he likes to say is, I do understand why you did it,
Hmm.
because I wasn't the man that I needed to be for you. So he told me that's one of the big reasons why I choose not to
Hmm.
bring it up, because I
Hmm.
don't fault you for it. I
Hmm.
do understand why you did it. And
Hmm.
at times I say, well, I would still like you to talk about it and say
Hmm.
something to me a little
Hmm.
more. But he says there's nothing more that needs to be said.
Wow. So how do
Hmm.
you take that?
Oh, I accept it.
Hmm.
I understand.
Hmm.
But in my mind, I feel like, I think from male to female, I think it's a conversation that he does not want to fully have and dive deep into, because the
Hmm.
thought of another man sleeping with your woman is not comfortable for
Hmm.
a man.
Right. And it sounds like he harbors a lot of shame for not being the man that you needed him to be. I think, when a man fully loves a woman and the
Hmm.
woman cheats on them, I think it's sometimes an even bigger blow for the man. And I think that goes back to our societal expectations. Men just expect women to be, you know, faithful, true, never cheat, and when they do, it's just world shattering for them,
Hmm.
and it makes them really have to just delve inside and say, well, what was it in me? Now, this is to say, women do this as well.
Hmm.
What was it in me that wasn't good enough? What did
Hmm.
I do wrong? Why was I not enough for this person? And for a man to be able to talk about that, who is not at all conditioned to talk about feelings, about where they're coming from, about, how this is affecting them, they're just conditioned to go straight forward, move past the situation, repair and solve, and let the past be the past. Most men don't really want to or have a difficult time delving into that reason. But if they have the bravery to do that, that can be life changing for them because they can realize where they may have kind of fallen short in the relationship, where they might not have, been able to provide the care that their partner needed. So, just continuing to gently talk to him about this, trying to, help him to feel comfortable, help him know that he's not being judged about it. He may be able to open up a little bit more with time.
I think so too. It's taken a lot of time for us to get to where we are right now. Our relationship has changed drastically with maturity and hard work. Therapy, because there's no way we would be able to do this alone. We were two idiots trying to figure out how to make it work. I remember I went to my therapist and he said to me, I'm going to tell you right now, Shirley, if you're coming to me thinking you're better than him, you need to wake up. You're both toxic, and any relationship you would go into, you would most likely fail because you don't know how to cultivate a healthy relationship. And when he told me that, now he's like a big brother to me. I love him. Him and his wife, they have coaching sessions together. I love him. He's like a big brother to me, and I respect his honesty because I don't want a coach that's going to fluff everything. Like, you can't possibly fluff everything for me. You need to hit me hard and let me know and wake up out of my bubble, because I did walk in there thinking, I'm better. No, you're not. No, not at all. You're both fucked up. And we will repair this together if you both want to walk down this healthy path together.
I think that was really good in terms of setting up the expectation for couples therapy. It's, the reason why somebody cheats is never just because of one person. It always takes two to tango, or not to tango in this case. And so, what did you feel you did that contributed to this environment?
I didn't make my man feel as though I needed him. I am one of those women, and I'm learning still to this day. You have to let your man be a man in a healthy way. And I know when women hear that, especially women who have this controlling mindset, like I'm that woman. I used to say, I don't need you. You could go at any time. A man doesn't want to hear that. And this was like an everyday verbiage for me. Unhealthy. I don't know why I was showing all this dominance. For what? Because I did want him there. I do need his love. So that was part of my contribution. Making him feel insignificant. Not showing love and not verbally thanking him and making him feel appreciated. So those are many of the few things of why he felt the way he did, why he stepped out. And then when I listened to his and when I listened to mine, it seemed they're pretty much the same. We were just neglecting each other.
Well, I think it's just so wonderful that you can see that in yourself. You were able to kind of detach from yourself and see yourself from a different perspective. And oftentimes those kinds of behaviors, so say that we're, just trying to push everybody away. I don't need you. I'm fine. That usually comes from something in our childhood. That's usually either what we saw our parents do, it's because of our attachment to our parents, whether our parent was, the same type of person where they were, kind of neglectful, or they might have been too controlling, too dominating, or they may even have been abusive. It really does depend on the type of parenting that you saw as a child, and then you start to model that as you grow up, or you develop these behaviors as a defense against being hurt. So it sounds like in some ways for you, being queen bee and saying, you're not going to hurt me. I don't need you. I don't have to have you in my life. I'm fine without you, is certainly sounding like a defense against possible hurt. Does that ring true in some ways? I saw you like smile really big.
Girl, I think my mother said that every daggone day.
There you go.
She said that every day. She still says that till today. I love my parents. We don't have the closest relationship, but I heard it a lot. She let my father know how much she didn't need that man. So I heard it. And you're not the first time I'm hearing about, you don't realize how much of an effect your childhood has on your adult life until you start adulting and you take the time to sit down and realize, oh shit, my mom did that.
Mm-hmm.
or my dad did that,
Mm-hmm.
or this is what I saw.
And let me ask you, what did your dad, how did he react to that? Was there any particular behavior that he showed with that?
He didn't show. My dad is very calm, cool, and very docile man.
Mm,
For visually what I saw, I really truly could not wrap my little head around what the arguments were about.
mm,
Um, there was arguments consistently.
mhm,
And it just seemed like at times my mom was always the aggressor and
mhm.
my dad had to deal with whatever was thrown at him.
Okay.
Still to this day, they're together.
Mhm,
And when I was an adult, I finally told them, you guys need to separate. You're not happy.
mhm,
But they're not
mhm,
separating.
mhm,
He never has done anything till this day. Now,
mhm,
I'm 38.
mhm,
My brother's 30, soon to be 31.
mhm,
They're still together. So the kids are out the house.
mhm.
So I don't know what they're attached to at this point in time.
Right.
And my
Well,
mom has said, listen to this.
mhm.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I don't want him to get half of what I have. So I'm going to stay right here.
Wow.
So it's still going on even later on. And I'm an adult, almost 40. And I still am hearing this.
Mm. Well, let me ask you, who do you feel closer to, your mom or your dad?
Neither. So
Mm,
let me tell you the story of that. So I was born in Haiti. My
mhm,
mother left when I was 6 months old. My father left when I was 3 months old.
mhm.
My grandparents raised me.
Oh, wow.
And they are the ones who I identify as my mother and father.
Mhm.
Um, I came here when I was 4.5 years old.
Oh, wow.
That first year was extremely hard.
Mhm,
So as a foreigner, many foreign countries, they do this. The parents leave the child, they come to try to get the life set up, bring the child
mhm.
over. So basically, do you have children?
No.
Just think you have niece and nephew.
Oh, yeah.
Just think of your niece at 4.5 years old,
Mm,
taken from the environment that she had grew up in from when she was born to 4.5. A 4.5-year-old child is not stupid because
mhm,
I saw my kids at that age. And when they
mhm,
were at that age, I was like, I can only imagine if I take these little two people at the environment that they're used to, put them in another environment. And now you say, this is your mom and dad, and this is who you're going to live with.
right.
Now, I guess most human beings can adapt, but I never did. So
Mhm,
my aunt, her sister, had told me later on, the first year was extremely difficult for me. I would not
mhm.
let my mother dress me.
Wow.
Um, it was very straining. It was very
Mhm,
hard. About, I think, 6 months when I was here, when my uncle, her brother, who I remembered from back home,
mhm,
that's when I kind of started to feel a little more comfortable because now I was identifying with people that I knew. And her sister, my aunt, who actually, it was her and my grandma who really truly was tending to me.
mhm,
And my one other aunt who has passed, when she came,
mhm,
then the comfort level completely changed because now I was
mhm.
identifying with people I remember.
Right.
So the connection between me, my mother, and my father has been very hard
Yeah.
because of that very situation
Mhm,
that I was taken out of my comfortable environment into the situation. And I think
right.
even still this day, I've
Mhm,
never really found closure with it. There was a
mhm,
part of me that was a little angry with grandma and grandpa, but it
mhm.
wasn't grandma and grandpa's choice because as I got
Right.
older, I realized my mom wanted me to come here.
Right.
I was her child, so they couldn't
Yes.
hold me hostage.
Right.
And as I got older, I realized that so that I wasn't angry with them, but then I was like, why did you want me? For what? Because I come here and it's like the love I had there is not the same.
Right. And what was the love that your mom and dad provided you? What kind of love did they give?
I think it was just the making sure I'm good, taking care of your child. But when it came to emotional love, there
Yes.
was really none.
Right.
That's what I was missing, that
Mhm,
emotional love that I
mhm.
had back home that I didn't
Right.
have here because I was, for the first year, I was already like not wanting these people to touch me.
Right.
So I was already creating this barrier. So now
Yes.
they're trying their best to deal with me.
Mm-hmm.
My mother even made the comment to her own mother saying, "You made my child hate me."
Mm.
These are all the things.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow.
And that's
And
why it
as,
makes perfect sense that as you started to grow up and form your own opinions and your own behaviors and ways, you chose to keep that wall up because it was
mm,
severed at such an important age. You were primarily attached to your grandparents. That's where
hmm
you were receiving all of your security and your love and just your feelings of safety, and then just snatched out of that into an environment. And granted, they are your biological parents, but they're not providing that level of comfort and safety and emotional warmth and love, and so that just puts the wall up immediately because you no longer think you're safe. So then you go into your relationships holding on to that wall and that barrier so that you cannot get hurt. So that's why I think it makes perfect sense. And you may even have unconsciously chose your partner because he may have exhibited some of those same kinds of behaviors that your parents did. Maybe he was aloof. Maybe he just kind of acted like he didn't care, or he was, maybe a little more docile like your dad. And so you went into those roles kind of emulating your mom a little bit, and maybe he was emulating your dad a little bit. And the reason why we do that, it's not like we're going out and we're trying to, like, marry our parents or anything like that. But when there's an attachment breach, or there's, any kind of difficulty in your primary attachments as a child, you unconsciously try to resolve that as an adult with your partner. And if
mm,
you can do it successfully, you can actually heal that part of yourself in your childhood. But most often, people who seek out whoever they've had difficulties, in terms of their attachments, they usually just create and keep the same pattern going, unless there is some kind of intervention like therapy or some kind of big realization that this is what's happening to you now.
hmm And what you're saying is absolutely true. I don't
Mm.
think I've ever thought about it as deeply.
Mhm.
My therapist even mentioned it to me because he made me bring it up. So now, after he made me bring it up, I'm more comfortable even talking about it on air because, of course, that's the point of the podcast and
Right,
talking about these deep, dark conversations that people don't want to have,
right.
and even as a host, I have no shame in saying I don't sit behind this mic and act like I'm perfection because I'm fucking not. I'm like a
Mhm.
walking fuck up,
No.
but in a
Well,
healthy way. A
everyone
walking
is.
fuck.
How about that?
Everyone is a walking fuck up. But I'm consistently wanting to learn, consistently wanting to do
Mhm.
better, but I see the connection. And
Mhm.
to answer your question, yeah, I'm not close to any of them. I'm not close to any of them. And it's interesting. I tell people I don't call my parents mom and dad.
Mm.
I identify to other people. If I'm in conversation with you, I'll tell you that's my mother and that's my father. But
Mhm.
when I'm speaking to them, I don't address them as mom and dad. I just
Mm.
start the conversation.
Mhm. Well, and that
hmm
just shows you how you're still protecting your heart to this day. And do
Yeah.
you feel that there's anything missing or that you would want to resolve with them? Or do you feel like this is just where it is and you have acceptance for that?
I I hope this doesn't sound cold.
Mm.
I love them.
Mhm.
They're my parents, and I will
Mhm.
always do the best that I am capable of doing for them.
Mhm.
But that's where it ends.
That's
And
acceptance,
yeah, that's
and
where it
that's
ends. I
okay.
don't care. Like, deep in my heart,
Mhm.
I do see my grandparents as my mom and dad, even though I
Mhm.
know those are my biological parents.
Mhm.
And it hurts because I don't want to hurt mom and dad.
Mhm.
And if they were to hear this, they would think I would be so mean and my
Mhm.
daughter doesn't love me. But this is the
Mhm.
type of understanding where they won't get it. They
Mhm.
just won't get it.
Mhm. Yeah. And,
So,
the question is that okay? Is it okay that you have, a deeper and more heartfelt attachment to your grandparents than you do to your parents? And I think it is. I think that, you can't force that connection. You can't make it happen. You can certainly accept your parents for who and what they are and see
mhm,
them as the human beings that they are, but you may never have that, deep, heartfelt connection like you do with your grandparents. But I think one
mhm,
of the greatest things that we can do as adults is come to some place like that for, the feelings about that we have about our parents. Most people,
mhm,
have something that's unresolved or some kind of feelings, about the way that their parents, raised them. And a lot of people hold and harbor that as resentment as they get into their adult lives.
mhm,
But the more you can just look at your parents as human beings, try to understand that they were doing the very best that they could possibly do, even if that best was not very good. You
mhm.
can just learn to let go of that expectation. And I think when we let go of that expectation, the tension between us and our parents tend to, dissolve. And you tend to then just be comfortable with each other as you are. And I think that that's one of the greatest places that you can get with your parents in your adult life.
True, true.
Hmm.
And I think the three of us have accepted what it is. I think
Hmm.
my mother knows more than she ever would want to talk to me about.
Right.
Yeah, and you know, we don't talk about it.
Right.
We just have respect for each other. I know, she knows, we all know, and it is what it is, pretty much.
Hmm.
And um, I love her from a distance.
Yeah.
That's what I do. Yeah.
Yep.
And we come together for she sees her grandkids. She's not like restricted from the grandchildren, but,
Hmm.
you know, it's just one of those things I have to love from a distance anyway, because their relationship is toxic. So I have to keep myself at bay
Hmm.
because I've already, um, taken too much of that
Hmm.
toxicity from when I was a child. So now as an adult, I realize, okay, I need to keep myself at bay
Hmm.
because you guys are still in the toxic situation you were in when I was in a child. So this was a great session for me. Hopefully this is definitely beneficial for someone else that has maybe similar situation, infidelity, of
Hmm.
course, you can relate to. Now, I
Hmm.
wanted to segue into something else.
Okay.
Now that I'm a parent,
Hmm.
how do I make sure? I think I've been doing a really good job
Hmm.
to lead my children in a healthy way. I, you know, we, our relationship is not perfect.
Hmm.
And, like when their little sister was born, I
Hmm.
had them embrace their little sister.
Hmm.
I let them know what the situation was. Interestingly enough, I'm gonna tell you a little comedy about it.
Hmm.
This will put some laugh on people's face to see how innocent children are. So when the
Hmm.
situation happened, my son said to me, "So is daddy going to have more kids with this girl?" I was like, "Oh my gosh,
Hmm. We hope
girl,
not.
we hope not." I didn't even know how to answer. And that's exactly what I
Hmm.
said. I said, "It shouldn't happen again."
Hmm.
This is the innocence of children. Now, at the
Yes.
time they're 13 and 14 now, so they do understand
Hmm.
what happened, but
Hmm.
they didn't understand. I think they were 6 and 7 at the time.
So
So
young.
they did not understand what infidelity was. So his
Hmm.
innocence in that question, it's like,
Hmm.
what's going on? You're our
Hmm.
mommy. Now you're telling
Hmm.
us this is our sister and she doesn't have the same mommy. They
Right.
couldn't understand how to wrap this around their head.
Right.
So I've tried to create as healthy a situation as we both can.
Good.
So they see their sister, they're around their sister, they know the
Hmm.
situation now.
Hmm.
How do I make sure my daughter, I I tell my daughter, and I haven't told her yet, but my plan is to let her know, listen, my relationship is my relationship. I don't want you to emulate what I did because
Hmm.
you may not feel as though what I did was the right decision.
Hmm.
I don't know what you would do if you were in that situation, but I don't want her to look at my relation and say, well, if someone cheats on me, I need to stay. No, you need to do what is best for you.
Hmm.
What I did what was best for me may not be best for you.
Right. Well, I think, the key to any relationship is communication. So
Mm,
with our children, I think we tend to think we have to gloss things over. We might not, you know, be as truthful as we might be with an adult. And what
right.
I'm really loving hearing is that brought in this girl to your home, which is
Yeah.
an amazing thing. I don't know if the mother's still a part of her life. Is your daughter with you full time?
No, she's not with us full time.
Mm-hmm.
The mother is a part of her life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we do see her. Right
Okay.
now, she comes over every weekend. So
Mm,
I've always tried to make it a point for her to be a part of our lives.
mhm,
There were periods where it's been a strife. It
mhm.
really
Oh, I'm
has, because
sure.
it's the scorn woman, the
Mhm,
control, and
mhm,
many times she didn't want the child to be around me. So it's been quite hard at times,
mhm,
but I try to bring her around as much as I
mhm,
can so they know this is your sister. I don't know what relationship you guys are going to have
mhm,
when you get older, but when you
mhm.
guys are 18, I'm stepping back. That's up to
Right,
y'all if y'all want to call each other on a daily, weekly basis. I don't know.
right.
But at least right now, you're going to know this is your sister.
Well, I think, in terms of the communication with her, it's easy to think that she could have that assumption. Oh, if a man cheats on me, I need to stay with him because, I saw my stepmom essentially do the same thing with my dad. And she is seeing that example, but she's not necessarily seeing a negative example. She's seeing
Okay.
someone who is kind and compassionate and forgiving and who can work through problems and pain and still have love with that person. So, what you're
Mhm.
actually showing her is a great example of compassion and forgiveness that she can carry into her life because, that, like I said, there are so many people who don't just leave out of a relationship. They don't just like,
Exactly.
exit. They will stay and they will try to work on it and they will try to make the relationship work. And there's so much judgment actually on that. And I don't think that that's necessarily warranted. Yes, that person did betray your trust, but does that mean that you just throw them out into the street? They may actually want to atone for that. They may actually ask for forgiveness. And if you can forgive that person and work through the communication problems and the difficulties that led to the infidelity, then you're actually fully loving
Mhm.
somebody,
Mhm.
flaws and all. And I think that that's one of the highest forms of love is how if you can forgive somebody for doing that. Many people can't, and that is perfectly fine as well. And I think it's on a case by case basis. So really it's
Mhm.
about educating her on what she might want and need in a relationship, how
Mhm.
she might be able to communicate those needs in a healthy, direct, non confrontational way, and how
Mhm.
she can ask for what she needs from her partner. And if she's kind of, geared up into adulthood with those skills, she may never
Mhm.
even encounter somebody who cheats on her because she has such great communication. She knows her worth. She knows how to ask for what she needs, and she knows how to communicate that effectively in a non confrontational way. So, she may end up with a partner that will just, worship the ground she walks on because she's such a
Mhm.
powerful, loving, kind person.
Wonderful. And that's
Hmm.
such a positive way to look at it, where I just always wanted to make sure, we have these two girls and we have a son,
Hmm.
three children.
Hmm.
We want to make sure we're doing the best that we're capable of doing. Of course, there's
Right.
no manual to this parenting.
Nope.
You know, now we're in this situation. We want
Hmm.
the children to live happy, blessed lives.
Right.
You know, don't base your relationship on how we did ours.
Right.
You could see how we handled it. Did the best that we can, but I hear what you're
Hmm.
saying. You
Hmm.
know, don't overthink it too. And I think I do that
Right.
too much. Don't
Well,
overthink it.
I think, we all tend to do that, especially if you've, had infidelity in a relationship. I don't know if those thoughts ever really go away. You're always kind of wondering, will it happen again? Will the
Hmm.
rug be pulled out from under me? And you have to work through those feelings on a day to day basis. But what you are showing your kids is you're showing them how you can overcome adversity, how you can, continue to love somebody despite pain, because the two of you are working together to stay together. And I think that that's an extremely valuable lesson. I don't know of any family that's perfect. I don't know
You're
of a
right.
single family, whether it's your immediate family or the extended family, there's always something. There's always,
Hmm.
issues and problems within a relationship. But some of the best ones have actually had infidelity in their past and have survived that and continued to move forward.
You're absolutely right. Now, another segue.
Hmm.
I know when we first started, you had mentioned something about parents sleeping
Oh,
at
yeah.
night with children. We're going to get, Shirley's getting off the topic. I think y'all
Hmm.
got enough of Shirley for today. Shirley's getting off the topic. If you don't know about me, then you really ain't listening to the podcast because my business is all out there. So I wanted you to dive into that and tell us about that. Especially, there's a lot of new parents. There's
Hmm.
pandemic babies.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I've seen a few of them.
Yes. So give us a little insight on that.
Well, I think, I mean, as you know, when you have a newborn, your sleep goes right out the window, and there is just really catching it while you can. And I think, what I try to help my couples who are coming in as new parents is how can they tag team? How can they become this kind of united front of parenting so that one person isn't taking the brunt of everything. And usually that one person is the female, because
Hmm.
you're breastfeeding most often, or you're the one who's like, just more conditioned to jump at the sound of a baby crying. So
Exactly.
how can you evenly distribute whatever is happening, whether it's, changing diapers, feeding the baby, if it's not, being breastfed at the moment, or can you pump and have the man feed the baby at night, so that you can both try to get some equal form of sleep. So,
Hmm.
it really does just take communication between the two and a willingness of the two partners. What you see most often is, this conditioning that I'm talking about, especially of the roles between men and women. And men feel like, for the most part, if they're conditioned this way, that they're the ones that go out, they're the ones that are working. So they, get to wake up when they need to go to work, come home. They can have, a little bit of baby playtime, then it's off to bed for them. While
Hmm.
the woman is like, hello, I'm over here
I need a
dying. I
break.
need a break. I've been up all night. I've been with the baby who's been crying all day. Some, mothers are also trying to work or work from home at the same time. And so by the time that the guy gets home, they're just spent, they're dead, and yet they're still continuing to work, feeding the family, feeding the husband, and then not getting any sleep. So that's what I tend to see more often than anything else, is a woman just taking on the brunt of everything. And so I try to counsel my couple clients, how can they distribute this work? Can the man get up 2 hours earlier and make breakfast for everybody and lunches and things like that? Can they take the baby in the morning? Can they take the baby in the evening when they're coming home from work, if they're at work? Or if both parents are working from home, how can they equally split this time so it's not just one person taking on the brunt of it and getting resentment? I also work on how the couples communicate with each other, because most often one person will take on the brunt of everything and then not say how they're feeling about it, and then resentment just grows and grows and grows until there's an explosion. And, honestly, I think that that's another part of conditioning. We're just not conditioned to express our needs. So, I think what's really important is how we communicate with each other. So I like to use nonviolent communication, feelings statements, and the like to help foster communication between partners. So, do you know anything about nonviolent communication?
Is it how you verbally express yourself when you
Hmm.
say nonviolent
Hmm.
communication? I was hearing about that from my therapist when he made the comment of you're not properly communicating.
Right,
I was like, what the hell are you talking about?
right,
I'm saying what I need to say. You're not saying it how you should be saying it. And I would
exactly.
hear his wife say it,
Hmm.
and I'm like, I didn't think of it like that. What's wrong with the way I'm
Hmm.
saying it? But it sounds very harsh
Hmm.
how I'm saying it.
Hmm.
And that was me. That
Yes,
was me.
most
I
people.
wouldn't say anything. And I
Yes.
would resent, and he'd come home and he'd be chilling.
Hmm.
And I'd be like, I know he see me with this baby.
Hmm. And
And
then
my
you make some
therapist had
passive
to say,
aggressive comment. You're like, must be nice to be sitting there watching TV. Hmm. Yeah, that
there
would
you
be
go.
great if I could do that too. Yes.
There you go. He
So,
says, Shirley, no one's a mind reader. So if you
exactly.
don't open up your mouth, how is he supposed to know?
Exactly. So there are very basic steps. There's a book called Nonviolent Communication. It's by Marshall
Okay.
Rosenberg. It's amazing. There's very
Okay.
simple steps, though, that I think everybody can just take from this conversation and apply it to whatever is happening in their relationship. And say it's something like that. There's unequal distribution of, the
Hmm.
work. There's building resentment against the partner. How do you communicate that? So, first, I think the most important thing, and this is kind of the first step of this, is to actually reflect on the situation. Reflection is just
Okay.
a really wonderful, like non judgmental way that you can kind of paint a picture. So, for example, um, you know, right now what I'm seeing in this, you've come home, I know you're tired from work. I'm also really, really, really tired. So here we are, two people that are tired. This is just a reflection. You're just saying this is the situation. The next step is to convey how you feel about it. And the way you can feel, this is, I think, the hardest step of all, because when we convey how we feel, we usually point a finger and we say, you made me feel like I'm doing all the work and you're making me so angry. Nobody's making you feel that way. You just feel that way. And if you can express it without using the word you, make sure all of my couples remove the word you from their communications. When I am so stressed out, when I'm taking care of a baby all day and I am not getting the help that I need, I feel depleted. I feel angry. I feel isolated. I feel alone. When your partner can hear how you're feeling, that immediately opens up their compassion and empathy. If there's a finger pointed at them, though, that immediately puts up this wall. And they're like, nope, I'm not
Hmm.
hearing you. I'm not doing anything to you. I'm not making you feel that way. But if you
Hmm.
just say, this situation, if anyone was in this situation with me, and this was the situation, this is how I would feel. You are speaking in a non confrontational, non defensive making way, and your partner is able to see into your heart. And they're seeing somebody who's depleted, who's feeling isolated, who's angry. And if your partner loves you, they don't want you to feel that way. They want you
Exactly.
to feel better. So that's when you can go to the next step is to request what you need. I need more help. If I had more help, I wouldn't feel this way. Is there any way that you can provide me this help? And that's, I think, what's really, really hard for us because we're so used to just kind of, you know, doing our thing and just trying to just make things work. And it's hard. I think for a lot of people to directly ask for help. But if you were to say, like, I need an hour when you get home, I need an hour, or I need an hour in the morning. Can you please take the baby for these, 2 hours so that I can take a nap or I can actually take a shower? I haven't showered in 3 days.
Hmm.
Could you please help me? Your partner who loves you would, want that for you. And especially if you have somebody who's, equally invested as a parent, they're going to want to be, to provide this for you. But definitely how we ask is everything. Making sure that we're asking and we're reflecting and we're seeing our partner in a non-defensive way, defensive making way, I mean.
Hmm. Girl, I'm victim. That
We
was
all
me.
are. We all are.
Didn't ask.
Hmm.
And I would make sarcastic comments
Hmm.
every chance I got.
Hmm.
Of course, that's going to make somebody not want to do anything.
Hmm.
And then I had this superhuman cape on, like, I'm mom and I can do it
Hmm.
all. I can
Hmm.
work. I can take care of the baby. And
Hmm.
here I go, making my man feel less. I don't
Hmm.
need you.
Hmm. Hmm. And
That was
here's the
me.
thing, I think that is a very big, key secret. It's not a secret. I mean, it's basically women are from Venus and men are from Mars. But and I
Uh-huh.
think there's actually, the basics in that book that's really important is that men are driven by the need to feel wanted and appreciated.
Hmm.
They want some kind of validation for what they're doing. And I think that that's
Hmm.
hard for a woman, especially if they're taking on the brunt of everything. But the
Hmm.
moment you are appreciative and see your partner for who he is and what he's doing, it's going to make him want to do more. It's going to make him want
Exactly.
to participate more. It's going to make him feel so good about himself because that's, kind of what they're conditioned to want and need. Women, on the other hand, want and need understanding. That's why,
Yes.
women, when we talk to each other, we're like, oh, yeah, I totally get it. The conversation usually flows and the woman feels heard because that's how we're conditioned to talk to each other, but that's not how men and women actually talk to each other. I think one of the best ways that you can communicate between the sexes is trying to do it in a, kind of more detached, less emotional way. So if both parties can calm down, they can take deep breaths and they can convey what they want and need almost in kind of like a business like way,
Yes.
then you're able to provide for each other and come back to the loving place, the more affectionate place, and the more intimate place. And that's where the happy place is in your relationship.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And,
Hmm.
I see myself doing all these negatives with
Hmm.
our little ones.
Hmm.
I seen it. I was
Hmm.
victim of it. And
Hmm.
everything that you're saying, I think to myself, I said, these are the things I didn't know.
Hmm.
Time has educated me. Therapy has educated me. Being
Hmm.
vocal and speaking out and realizing, you know what, it's okay, I made this mistake. But now what hard work am I going to put to better myself
Right,
so I can better my relationship?
right. And you're doing it right now. You're doing
I
it right
am.
now. And I think we all are works in progress. We are all working and striving to try to be our best selves. And,
Mhm.
some people are a little less versed in it than others. And some people have, their parents' example of their communication and they just model that in their lives. But if you can actually take the time, learn new communication techniques,
Mhm.
go to therapy with your partner, find out what makes them tick, what makes you tick, and how to provide each other your needs.
Mhm.
You're moving up and up and up in your relationship. And I think that's the best that we can do. None of us are ever at the pinnacle. We're always working and striving to be better.
Awesome. You have given us some key enlightenments today,
Oh, I'm so
using
glad.
me as an example with infidelity.
Hmm.
And, my case is not one you hear of often with
Hmm.
a, both victim and perpetrator situation and a
Hmm.
child being born. So I offered you guys many nuggets to,
Hmm.
feed off of, and whatever works for you. Of course, don't compare. So I appreciate you,
Oh, thank you.
Dr. Sue. Oh,
You
gosh,
got it.
I'm awful.
Supatra
S-
Tovar.
Supatra Tovar. And you see,
Hmm.
she has to assist me. I am awful when it comes to names.
Well,
But
mine's a
she
tongue
is.
twister, so, I do this
I
all the
probably
time.
have to say it like many, many times before I remember. It's not even that difficult.
No.
But I appreciate you being here today.
Me
The words of
too.
wisdom you provided, all the piece of nuggets you fed us with. This is awesome. And your hard work,
Oh, thank
everything that
you.
you've done.
Thank
It's
you.
it's just a blessing, and you have such a sweet soul. I appreciate your
Uh,
feedback. It was absolutely awesome. And I
Thank
like
you.
how you said that it is okay to, pretty much, just to sum up what you said, not your exact words, but listeners, please remember that we're human.
Mhm.
None of us are perfect. We are going to make mistakes, and we may do things that are disappointing to even ourselves. When I cheated, I would have never thought that I, Shirley Altador, would do such a thing. But guess what? It happened.
Mhm.
And I can't, crawl up in a little ball and act like my world has ended and my life is over. No, I need
Mhm.
to pick up and continue to move on.
Mhm.
So,
I think we are only human, and if we can learn how to forgive ourselves and forgive others,
mhm,
I actually think that's one of the most beautiful lessons that we can give ourselves in this life. And it certainly does free your mind and your soul to be able to forgive and let go of the past. And I think you should be really proud of yourself for being able to do that, even if it's still a struggle, even if you might have
mhm.
stumbles. To continue to do that and to choose love over fear is,
Exactly.
the biggest win in my book.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So we are going to end this episode. Again, thank you so much for being a guest.
Thank you.
And listeners, as always, thank you for listening. Love yourself, voice yourself, and be yourself. And until the next podcast, have a great day, guys. Thanks for tuning in to Femme Parler Podcast. If you want to continue the conversation or share your takeaways, I want to hear from you. Head on over to the website or join our Facebook community and comment your favorite part of the show or share your thoughts. I want to hear what you have to say. Don't forget to rate and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Chat with you next week.